Crash on 35 between Walsham and Eisenhower there, so that's causing a bit of a slowdown. Also still watching some delays downtown, so that travel time between the northeast side and Loop 410 still 10 to 12 minutes, so that looks fairly good. Let's take a look at TransGuide. Most of those delays, if you can see, are on the lower level, Adam.
All right, Sam, we'll have some hit or miss showers tonight and tomorrow morning, and even through tomorrow afternoon, some widely separated activity. But the main event here, you see this. Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning. That's when we're expecting most of the showers and thunderstorms. So tomorrow night, I think a lot of us will be woken up at some point by the heavy rain and thunder. Some flash flooding, isolated severe storms are possible. Much cooler by the weekend, highs in the 70s.
Thanks, Adam. And thanks for watching.
See you on the night beat.
Good evening, everybody. If you are in need of a bit of a pick-me-up, you have come to the right live stream. I'm Myra Arthur. Thanks for checking out this live stream of KSAT Explains. Tonight, the episode of the show is dedicated to coffee culture in San Antonio and the emergence of so many local spots to get your favorite cup. Check it out.
It used to be just a morning beverage, the drink you needed to start your day, something you ordered with breakfast at a diner. But now it seems coffee is ingrained in our culture. Coffee houses have become social spots.
We wanted this to be a place that was community oriented.
Coffee orders have become more sophisticated.
It's so nuanced, depending on how much water you put in, how much you grind it, what your brew process is, and the way it's processed.
Coffee mugs have become trendy.
Everything here, especially at the warehouse, is kind of a raw, rustic, industrial feel.
And over the years, more and more local entrepreneurs have made coffee their livelihoods.
Just seeing coffee businesses start growing up, especially here in San Antonio, there's a lot more shops, local shops establishing in the past 2 years.
But how did that happen? And when did coffee become so cool?
KSAT Explains.
KSAT Explains. KSAT Explains.
KSAT Explains. On-demand, in-depth perspective. Perspective on stories we bring you in our newscasts throughout the day. We're looking into concerns over voting safety during a pandemic and the battle over mail-in voting. A look at how the protests and demonstrations have played out in our city and an examination of what it means to be black in San Antonio.
An issue that you have likely felt the effects of, rising property taxes.
The roots of Tejano run deep in South Texas. We examine the cultural impact the music has had in San Antonio.
This week, KSAT Explains is taking a deep dive into coffee culture.
It's not just something we drink to wake up in the morning. The way we consume and even talk about coffee has changed over the last several years. Here in San Antonio, cafes have popped up all across town. There are now seemingly limitless options for you to get your caffeine fix. In this episode of KSAT Explains, we'll talk about the history of coffee, how it's made, and the evolution of the local coffee industry. But none of this would be possible if it weren't for people who were so passionate about this very topic. We talked to one man who was dedicated his entire career to researching the science behind coffee.
I'm the Chief Research Officer for the Specialty Coffee Association. I've been working in coffee for over 30 years. I got a job as a barista when I was in college, and I never left. Coffee is amazing because you grow it thousands of miles away, right? In some place like Ethiopia or Colombia or Indonesia. And if you grow it properly, process it properly, ship it properly, and it winds up on your breakfast table in San Antonio, Texas, somehow miraculously, its flavor can tell you where it's from. Months after it was harvested, thousands of miles away from where it was harvested. That's the amazing thing about coffee and what captivates people like me. I mentioned Ethiopia, which is where coffee is from and where people first drank it. And if you go to Ethiopia, they perform a thing called the Ethiopian coffee ceremony. And it's a highly ceremonial thing where a woman, it's always a woman who's a senior member in the community, will roast coffee, prepare it, grind it, and prepare it in this highly ceremonial way. And if you ask an Ethiopian person what the coffee ceremony means, what they'll say is that's a time for people to come together and talk and share news and connect with each other. And there's something about coffee in its chemistry, the way it affects us, right? It stimulates us a little bit, but it also makes us somehow more social and more talkative. And so ever since that beginning in Ethiopia, up into the souk of Arabia where the coffee houses first got established, through Europe, coffee became a place where people would come together, interact with each other, have a social moment over this delicious beverage. But then as you go along, you realize that another way that coffee connects people is through the supply chain, right? So when you start to work in coffee, you start to learn the names of coffee producers in Honduras or Ethiopia, as I mentioned, or Kenya or Indonesia, and you begin to feel a connection with these places that are so far away. And that gives a sense of community at the global level, you know? And I think even the consumer gets a sense of that, you know, when they drink a cup of coffee from one of those places. They feel a little bit of a connection there, and that's a human connection more than, you know, a thing about stimulation or fuel.
Now let's take it back even further and look at what we know about the history of coffee.
The origins of coffee are a little bit mysterious. No one is 100% sure how it was discovered or exactly when, but there are some theories. Here's a popular one that the National Coffee Association buys into. Some say coffee was discovered by a goat herder named Kaldi in 9th century Ethiopia. Legend has it that Kaldi noticed his goats seemed wired after eating the berries from a certain tree. Kaldi then took the coffee berry to some monks who consumed the fruit, and they got a similar kick. Word spread, and people began consuming the coffee fruit in different ways for a boost of energy. Coffee cultivation and trade began on the Arabian Peninsula. The beverage's popularity spread, and soon it was enjoyed not only at home, but at public coffee houses across what was known as the Near East.
Coffee houses became a social spot, a place for people to hang out, to talk to each other, or even listen to music.
By the 17th century, travelers brought coffee back to Europe. Author David Liss, who wrote a historical novel centered around the coffee trade in 17th century Amsterdam, says it wasn't long before coffee became a social thing.
People would drink coffee when they gathered to talk about politics or religion or business. And over the course of time, what happened was that coffee shops became very specialized. So members of different political parties or factions within political parties would all meet at a particular coffee house.
But in the Western world, not everyone trusted the new beverage. Some people even went so far as to call it the bitter invention of Satan. Yikes. And clergy condemned coffee in Venice. When Pope Clement VIII was asked to weigh in on the matter, he reportedly tasted the beverage, but found it so good, he gave it his approval. In the mid-1600s, coffee was first brought to the New World, but it really gained popularity after the Boston Tea Party of 1773, when colonists fought back against the heavy tax on tea imposed by King George III. Switching from tea to coffee became somewhat of a patriotic act.
Most of us don't think about how our coffee actually gets into the cup, how it starts out, how it's roasted, how it's processed. We just want it brewed and poured. But making it all the way into your mug, that actually takes a lot of work.
Coffee beans start out as seeds. They're planted in large beds. They require a lot of care until they're hardy enough to be permanently planted. It takes about 3 to 4 years for coffee trees to bear fruit. That fruit is called the coffee cherry. They're harvested once they're ripe. In most countries, the crop is picked by hand and it's labor intensive. Once they're picked, the cherries are processed in one of two ways, the dry method or the wet method. In the dry method, cherries are spread onto a surface to dry in the sun until the moisture content in the fruit drops to 11%. The wet method, that's a little more complicated. A pulping machine is used to separate the skin and the pulp from the bean. After that, they have to be dried. Before being exported, the beans are milled. This can be done by hand or by machine. The milled beans, aka green coffee, is now ready to be shipped. It's placed into either jute or sisal bags.
Coffee comes to us in these sacks over here, about 150-pound bags.
The next step, roasting.
We run it through our roaster, and the process is kind of complicated, but long story short, we're bringing it to a certain temperature, and as it starts to roast, it comes to that temperature, and you'll hear it pop, kind of like popcorn, and that's the bean essentially doubling in size. And then whenever we decide to drop the bean is when it's finished roasting.
After roasting, the beans are immediately cooled either by air or water. Then they're ready to be ground up and brewed.
So we've talked about the history and the process, but now let's look at how a morning beverage evolved into an all-out trend.
I think somewhere along the way it just had the fortune of becoming cool.
Specialty coffee is now a trend. We're in what's known as the fourth wave of coffee. So what's that? What were the 3 first waves? Well, coffee connoisseurs describe the first wave as a time when coffee just wasn't that creative.
Well, I think for a long, long time, coffee was just a commodity. And it was just something you used to wake up, and that was it. You didn't care what it tasted like, and you almost grew to expect it to taste bad.
This coffee is often thought of as super dark and bitter, the kind you find in a tin at the grocery store.
Coffee became an item in a supermarket aisle rather than this sort of experience. And there was a group of people that decided, no, we want to reclaim coffee's culinary origins.
In the late 60s to early 70s, companies like Peet's and Starbucks brought about what's known as the second wave.
People like to say negative things about Starbucks, but Starbucks really paved the way for the rest of the specialty coffee industry.
Businesses like Starbucks helped bring non-coffee drinkers to cafes by offering a wide variety of drinks.
In the late 90s and early 2000s, another generation, that's my generation, started coffee companies with and had a different focus, more on sort of culinary expression and this kind of connection.
And now we're once again entering another wave.
Some people call it the fourth wave. Some people call it the tidal wave because there's so many coffee companies now, small coffee companies that are established all over the place.
A lot of the focus of recent coffee trends has been on education.
People care about they don't just want a cup of coffee. They want to know where the coffee's from. They want to know how it was roasted. They want to know the process and how it was milled and the elevation.
And these days, atmosphere is important. That's because more people aren't just grabbing their drinks and going. They're actually spending time at these cafes.
I've seen the seasons of coffee shops being very utilitarian and very, I'm on my way to work, I need a cup of coffee, and I don't want to know who you are, I just want to get out of here. And then I've seen coffee shops turn into virtual workspaces.
People increasingly use coffee shops as places to work or conduct business. And that is definitely more true today than it was, 10 or 20 or 30 years ago.
And it's not just for work. People now spend time at cafes just hanging out. It's an alternative for some to going to a bar. Some people have even theorized that shows like Friends and Seinfeld have influenced the coffee house boom.
Oh, no, thanks. I can't drink coffee late at night. It keeps me up.
Does anybody need coffee? Yeah, over here.
The boom is a welcome one for those who have made coffee their business.
I remember my family just being like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're never going to make a living doing this. And look at me now.
A good friend of ours changed his entire life for coffee. Charles Gonzalez, remember him? He used to be my KSAT co-anchor on Sunday nights, but then he fell in love with coffee and made a total career change. He opened up a coffee shop here in San Antonio. I caught up with my buddy to talk about what he has learned, literally traveling the world in the name of coffee.
For starters, why did you ditch us for coffee?
Fair question.
For years, we anchored together on Sunday nights, but then Charles changed things up, ditching the anchor desk for the coffee counter. Not exactly breaking news to those of us who know him.
We all know that when you talk about coffee, you are passionate about coffee. Like, you're into it. So,
Say nerd.
Nerd or not, for Charles, coffee is fascinating.
You could take the same bean from the same farm, process it 3 different ways, then roast each of those 3 different ways, and then brew them 3 different ways. So, you could have, from one bean, you could have 27 different types of drinks at the end. And that's, I think, what's really interesting about coffee is it's so nuanced.
That nuance became knowledge for Charles and eventually a business. He opened Rosella in 2014. Multiple locations followed. Today, he travels the world working for a company that sells commercial espresso machines.
So when somebody says coffee culture, what is coffee culture to you?
I guess it kind of depends, who you are and where you're from, because in some cultures it's very different. Like I would say, in the Middle East, there's, for religious purposes, a lot of people don't drink alcohol. So coffee cafes are like the bars. I mean, there are a lot, our customer there, he'll go out to a cafe at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night and they're packed. There's a lot of people there, and that's what they drink, and that's kind of like the way they socialize. So coffee culture there could be very different from what it is, here in the States, because most people in the States, they're not looking to drink coffee after 6 o'clock at night. Maybe like a little espresso after dinner, but it's not like, hey, let's go out and go hang out and drink some coffee. That's not a thing.
Like a lot of coffee connoisseurs, Charles points to Starbucks as the engine that kickstarted coffee to what it is today in the U.S.
I think, for lack of a better term, I think they just kind of made coffee sexy, with the names or the way the drink looked, or what it sounded like. It's like, ooh, it's a frappuccino. It's like, well, it's a blended ice beverage. Yeah, but no, it's a frappuccino.
So how does he like his?
I mean, there's coffee from Ethiopia, which is my favorite, which can taste just like blueberries. It's almost like, there's still coffee, but it's like, it has this strong blueberry flavor. There's some, like from Kenya, that has a really, acidic grapefruit flavor.
My husband tells me my coffee preference is motor oil. I like it strong, apparently.
To this day, Charles is still learning about coffee, doing the very thing that got his second career brewing years ago.
I think back then, 10, 11 years ago, you could probably count on 1, maybe 2 hands the number of independent coffee shops and roasters that were in San Antonio.
Now, if you want a good cup of coffee in San Antonio, there are quite a few options. There are cafes, coffee trucks, even places that roast their own beans in-house. Depending on what you're looking for, there's pretty much something for everyone. But that was not always the case.
If you've been following the evolution of coffee culture locally, you've probably been to, or at least heard of, local coffee. Founder Robbie Grubbs opened the original cafe on Sonterra Boulevard back in 2009. He says he was inspired after visiting a coffee shop in Austin, where he was impressed by both the coffee and the atmosphere.
The people that worked there, they weren't order takers. They were guys that were truly interested in my life. I was interested in theirs.
Grubbs, who had been working as a home builder, had a history with coffee. He helped open the very first Starbucks in Texas, in Plano. He used both passions to create local coffee.
It was the marriage of those two. I just had this light go off, and I was like, my God, if I could get a hold of this roaster and have coffee like this and train these employees to be craftsmen and peers of the people that came in and not just order takers, but put it in something beautiful.
At first, he was worried that what he was doing wouldn't catch on.
When we opened, it was a lot of, nobody had ever had anything like what we were serving. There was days in the beginning, trust me, when it was like crickets. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
But coffee culture did take hold in San Antonio. And over the course of the next decade, several other locally owned coffee shops opened across town, like Shotgun House Coffee Roasters.
In 2017, after a visit to Brown Coffee, my mom suggested that I start roasting coffee. Started roasting on the front porch of our Shotgun House in Tobin Hill, and quickly started doing some pop-ups in our front yard.
Shotgun House Roasters owner Eddie Laughlin says that he was surprised at how popular his pop-ups became, with people willing to buy hot cups of coffee out of his house, even on the hottest of summer days.
We realized that if we wanted to be legitimate and, not get shut down by the police, that we would have to get a legitimate roasting space.
Shotgun House Roasters opened its first brick-and-mortar cafe on Buena Vista in 2018. Gold Coffee opened about a year and a half ago on South Flores. But founder Jason Tantaros has been in the coffee industry in some form or fashion for nearly 2 decades.
All the way from doing local mom and pop shops to Starbucks.
Tantaros says a major focus when creating his shop was cultivating an atmosphere that he describes as nice.
We're a shop, if we don't know you when you walk in, that's kind of rare, and then eventually you come back enough where we do know you.
Today, coffee trucks are even a thing. Marco Cardell opened Mila on Broadway in March of 2016 after years of working as a barista.
I started somewhere as a barista back at North Star Mall in 2009.
He decided on a truck instead of a storefront because financially it made more sense.
Definitely the expenses on it. I'm in a small local business owner, we don't have a lot of sources to spend and a brick and mortar at the beginning and all that. So a truck was a good idea for us to make it good and cheap.
While our coffee community is relatively young, it has grown quickly.
I have had coffee in this city that rivals any other city I've been to.
The cool thing about San Antonio is that we became one of the, I think, more progressive cities in coffee in the U.S.
And even more roasters and cafes are opening up, each truck or cafe with its own vibe and aesthetic. As more people get into the coffee game, Tantaros hopes that coffee culture becomes more inclusive and approachable.
Coffee in general, nationwide, at some point kind of had this real snobbish, you can come in, but I'm going to tell you how to do things. We've all experienced a coffee shop that has criticized someone for putting cream and sugar in their coffee, or not understanding what a natural process is, or you're paying $8 for a cup of coffee. I'm starting to see people, I feel, kind of lighten up about that, and I think the reaction to that is that we're going to see people get more creative.
They all agree there's room for everyone, which is something that makes the coffee business special.
I don't think that if you worked at if you're the owner of HEB, you'd be happy to see somebody else go open up a grocery store next door. You know what I mean?
Grubb says it's that sense of community that creates the unique flavor of the coffee industry.
I used to think that everybody came back because the coffee was great. But a lot of people came back, they didn't really care about the coffee. But the person behind the bar just treated them with this, they're the most important person in the room when they walked in.
And San Antonio customers, he says, know that's the right blend.
And something I've grown up in San Antonio, I've known about San Antonio, it's an extremely loyal city. And that's exactly what happened, is that we came in, we put in the work in the beginning, and we built a customer base.
All right, during this live stream, we put a question out to those of you watching. Which is your favorite local coffee shop? You gave us some really interesting answers. We saw Starbucks, no surprise there, Eclipse, Brevity, McDonald's, Summer Moon, Graves, Merit Coffee. I believe Christina's House was also one of the answers. So Christina, you make a great cup. Thanks for letting us know. Thanks for checking out this episode of KSAT Explains. You can check out any episode that we have featured on any subject, and there is a wide variety on our website at ksat.com/explains or on the KSAT TV app. We'll see you right back here for a brand new episode next Tuesday. Have a good night.